Most people spend their lives waiting for the world to become fair. But growth begins the moment you accept something different. The world rewards awareness, discipline, and responsibility. Not luck, not excuses, awareness. Machiavelli did not teach cruelty. He taught clarity. He understood that life tests every man, and those who succeed are the ones who learn to understand human nature without resentment. When you see reality clearly, you stop blaming circumstances and start shaping them. The strategies of war are not about fighting others. They are about mastering yourself, your reactions, your emotions, your impulses. The real battlefield is internal. Every time you choose patience over anger, focus over distraction, or discipline over comfort, you win a silent victory that compounds over time. The strong man does not seek control over people. He seeks control over himself. He speaks less, listens more, and acts with intention. He does not rush to prove his value. He builds it quietly. Confidence grows when your actions match your principles. Most people reveal everything too quickly, their plans, their frustrations, their doubts, but calm restraint creates strength. When you learn to pause, to observe, to think before reacting, you become harder to shake. Not because you are cold, but because you are grounded. This journey is about becoming steady in a chaotic world, about becoming someone who cannot be easily pulled off course. If you're ready for that level of self-mastery, comment below. I master myself first. Let that be your starting point. This is where transformation begins. Power does not begin with dominance. It begins with discipline, the ability to do what must be done, especially when you do not feel like doing it. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for the right mood, the right moment, the right energy. But the man who grows understands that consistency creates strength long before results appear. The ancient strategists understood something modern life tries to hide. Victory is prepared long before the moment of conflict. It is built in habits, in routines, in the small decisions made when no one is watching. When you train your mind to remain steady under pressure, you remove chaos from your decisions. And when your decisions are calm, your direction becomes clear. Self-mastery means learning when not to react. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your response. Emotional control is not suppression. It is selection. You choose where your attention goes, because attention is your most valuable resource. Wherever it flows, your life follows. There is strength in patience. The disciplined man understands timing. He improves quietly while others chase recognition. He studies while others argue. He builds while others compare. Over time, this creates an advantage that looks effortless from the outside, but was earned through unseen effort. You begin to notice a change within yourself. Less urgency, less need for validation, more focus on progress. You stop measuring success by applause and start measuring it by growth. Each day becomes an opportunity to sharpen your mind, strengthen your character, and move one step closer to the person you are capable of becoming. This is how real confidence is formed, not through words, but through repeated proof to yourself that you can rely on your own discipline. One of the greatest misunderstandings about strength is the belief that you must respond to everything. You do not. Real power begins when you understand that energy is limited, and where you invest it determines the direction of your life. The undisciplined man reacts to every challenge, every criticism, every distraction placed in front of him. The disciplined man chooses his battles. The strategies of war teach restraint before action. Not every conflict moves you forward. Some exist only to drain your focus. When you learn to step back and ask, does this serve my long-term growth? You begin to operate differently from the crowd. You stop chasing small victories that cost you larger ones. You stop proving yourself to people who were never qualified to judge you in the first place. This is not avoidance, it is clarity. When your purpose is clear, unnecessary conflict loses its appeal. You become calmer, more selective, more intentional. You speak when your words add value. You act when action creates progress. And when you move with certainty, because your decision was not emotional, it was deliberate. Many people mistake constant activity for progress. They stay busy but remain stuck. True strategists understand the power of preparation. They observe patterns. They learn from mistakes without attaching ego to them. They allow time to work in their favor. Patience becomes an advantage because while others rush, you refine. There is also strength in letting others underestimate you. When you are not desperate for recognition, you gain freedom. You are no longer performing. You are building. Quiet improvement creates momentum that cannot be easily interrupted. Day by day, your confidence stops depending on outcomes and starts depending on effort. And effort is always within your control. As you grow in this mindset, something shifts internally. You begin to feel less pressure to win immediately. You understand that long-term positioning matters more than short-term approval. Losses become lessons. Delays become preparation. Even setbacks become information that sharpens your next move. This is how resilience is formed, not by avoiding difficulty, but by learning how to move through it without losing direction. The man who masters this becomes difficult to disturb because his focus is anchored in purpose rather than emotion. He understands that the ultimate goal is not to defeat others, but to continuously improve himself. If this way of thinking speaks to you, make sure you subscribe to Machiavellian State and turn on notifications, because in the next part, we move deeper into the strategy of positioning yourself so that opportunities come to you instead of you constantly chasing them. Most people believe success comes from effort alone. They push harder, work longer, and exhaust themselves trying to force outcomes. But strategy teaches a different lesson. Effort matters, yes, but effort without positioning creates struggle. The man who understands positioning does not fight against the current. He learns how to move with it. Positioning begins with awareness. You study your environment. You understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and where your efforts create the highest return. Instead of trying to be everywhere, you become effective where it matters most. This is not limitation, it is focus, and focus multiplies results. In war, victory is often decided before the first move is made. The same is true in life. Preparation shapes outcomes long before results appear. When you invest time in learning, improving your skills, and strengthening your character, you are quietly placing yourself in positions where opportunity recognizes you. What looks like luck from the outside is often preparation meeting the right moment. There is also wisdom in patience. Modern culture encourages urgency, immediate success, instant recognition, constant movement. But lasting growth requires endurance. When you allow yourself time to develop, you remove desperation from your decisions. And when desperation disappears, clarity replaces it. You begin to choose paths based on long-term value instead of short-term emotion. Positioning also means protecting your energy. Not every environment supports growth. Some drain your focus, encourage comparison, or reward distraction. The disciplined individual learns to step away from what weakens him and move toward what strengthens him. This is not arrogance, it is responsibility. You become accountable for the direction of your own life. As your awareness increases, you notice patterns others miss. You see when to advance and when to wait. You recognize when preparation is incomplete and resist the urge to rush. This restraint creates stability. And stability creates confidence, the kind that does not need to announce itself. The powerful truth is this: you do not need to chase every opportunity. When your skills improve, when your mindset becomes steady, when your reputation reflects consistency, opportunities begin to move toward you. People trust reliability. They respect calm competence. Over time, your presence alone communicates strength because your actions have proven it repeatedly. This is the shift from reaction to intention. Instead of asking, "What should I do next?" you begin asking, "Where should I place myself so the right action becomes obvious?" That question changes everything. It turns effort into strategy and movement into progress. The man who understands positioning stops living in constant resistance. He builds patiently, moves deliberately, and allows time to amplify his efforts. And in doing so, he becomes difficult to replace, difficult to ignore, and increasingly difficult to stop, not because he forces outcomes, but because he has prepared himself to meet them when they arrive. Part 5. Control the inner battlefield. Before any external victory, there is an internal one. Every strategist eventually discovers that the greatest obstacles are rarely outside forces, but uncontrolled thoughts, emotions, and impulses. Fear rushes decisions. Ego blinds judgment. Anger wastes energy. The man who learns to govern his inner world gains an advantage that cannot easily be taken away. Self-control is not about suppressing emotion, it is about understanding it. When you recognize what triggers frustration or doubt, you stop becoming a prisoner of reaction. You begin to pause. And in that pause, you create choice. Choice is where power lives. The ability to respond instead of react separates those who grow from those who repeat the same cycles. The strategies of war emphasize composure under pressure. When others panic, clarity becomes rare, and rarity creates advantage. A calm mind sees options where stress sees only problems. This is why emotional discipline must be trained daily, through routine, through reflection, through learning to stay steady even when outcomes are uncertain. Many people sabotage themselves by seeking immediate comfort. They avoid difficulty, delay effort, and distract themselves from discomfort. But growth demands temporary discomfort in exchange for long-term strength. Each time you choose discipline over ease, you reinforce trust in yourself. Over time, this builds quiet confidence, the kind that does not depend on external validation. There is also strength in detachment from outcomes. You focus fully on effort while accepting that results take time. This removes unnecessary anxiety and keeps your attention on what you can control. Progress becomes consistent because your motivation is no longer tied to instant success. You learn to value improvement itself. Another part of mastering the inner battlefield is learning to manage attention. Modern life constantly pulls your focus in different directions. Notifications, comparisons, endless noise. But attention is your life's currency. Where it goes, your future follows. When you protect your focus, you protect your potential. Deep work replaces scattered effort. Intentional action replaces reaction. As this discipline grows, you notice a change in how challenges affect you. Problems feel smaller. Pressure becomes manageable. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and begin seeing them as training. Every difficulty becomes an opportunity to strengthen patience, resilience, and clarity. Instead of asking why something is happening to you, you begin asking what it is teaching you. This mindset creates stability, and stability creates freedom. When your emotions no longer control your decisions, you become reliable under pressure. Others begin to trust your judgment. Opportunities begin to favor you because consistency is rare. In the end, mastering yourself is the foundation of every other strategy. Without it, knowledge becomes useless. With it, even simple actions become powerful. The man who wins internally carries that victory into every area of life. He moves with intention, thinks with clarity, and remains steady while the world around him changes. No strategy survives unchanged forever. Circumstances shift, people change, and environments evolve. The individual who refuses to adapt eventually becomes stuck, not because he lacks ability, but because he clings to what once worked. True strength comes from flexibility, guided by principle. You remain grounded in your values, but flexible in your methods. Adaptation begins with humility, the willingness to admit when something is no longer effective. Many people resist change because it feels like failure. In reality, adjustment is intelligence in motion. Every setback carries information. Every mistake reveals a better approach. When you remove ego from the learning process, progress accelerates. The strategies of war teach observation before reaction. Instead of forcing outcomes, you study patterns. You ask what the situation demands now, not what worked in the past. This mindset keeps you responsive rather than rigid. It allows growth to continue even when conditions become uncertain. Adaptation also requires emotional balance. Sudden change often creates anxiety, and anxiety leads to rushed decisions. But when your mind remains steady, you can move calmly while others hesitate. You begin to see change as opportunity rather than disruption. Where others see instability, you see space to improve, reposition, and advance. Another form of adaptation is learning when to let go. Not every plan deserves endless persistence. Sometimes strength means redirecting effort toward a more meaningful path. This is not quitting, it is refinement. Energy invested wisely produces far greater results than energy spent defending outdated choices. Over time, adaptability builds resilience. You become less afraid of uncertainty because you trust your ability to respond. Confidence grows not from knowing everything in advance, but from knowing you can adjust when necessary. This creates a quiet assurance that carries into every decision you make. The world rewards those who continue evolving. Skills sharpen, perspectives widen, challenges become training instead of threats. And as you adapt, you stop resisting change and begin using it. You move forward not by force but by alignment, adjusting your direction while keeping your purpose intact. In a world that rewards speed, patience has become rare. Yet every great strategist understands that timing often matters more than force. Many people move too early, speak too quickly, or abandon their path just before progress appears. Strategic patience is not inactivity. It is controlled preparation. It is the discipline to wait while continuing to improve. Patience begins with trust in the process. Growth is rarely visible in the beginning. Skills develop slowly. Results arrive quietly. The impatient mind interprets slow progress as failure. But the disciplined mind understands that foundations take time to build. When you focus on steady improvement instead of immediate reward, you create progress that lasts. The strategies of war teach that rushing creates weakness. When decisions are made from urgency, mistakes multiply. But when you allow yourself time to observe and think clearly, your actions become precise. You waste less energy correcting errors because your moves are intentional from the start. Patience sharpens judgment. There is also strength in allowing situations to unfold. Not every problem requires immediate intervention. Sometimes clarity emerges only after emotions settle and information becomes complete. By resisting the urge to react instantly, you give yourself the advantage of perspective. And perspective often reveals solutions that urgency hides. Strategic patience also protects your confidence. When your sense of progress depends only on quick wins, setbacks feel overwhelming. But when you measure success by consistency, temporary delays lose their power over you. You remain steady because your focus is long-term. You understand that meaningful change is built through repetition, not sudden breakthroughs. Another aspect of patience is endurance. Many people begin with enthusiasm but lose direction when effort becomes routine. The disciplined individual continues regardless of mood. He shows up when motivation fades. He works when recognition is absent. Over time, this consistency separates him from those who rely only on inspiration. As patience develops, you begin to notice a shift in how you approach life. You feel less pressure to compete with others' timelines. Comparison loses its hold. Your attention returns to your own path, your own progress, your own standards. This independence strengthens focus and removes unnecessary stress. Strategic patience teaches a powerful lesson. You do not need to force outcomes. When preparation meets the right moment, progress accelerates naturally. Opportunities appear clearer because you are ready for them. And when action finally becomes necessary, You move with confidence, knowing your decision was shaped by understanding rather than impulse. In this way, patience becomes more than waiting. It becomes quiet momentum, steady, controlled, and difficult to stop. Many people associate strength with visibility. They believe power must be announced, displayed, or constantly proven. But true strength often moves quietly. It does not need constant recognition because it is built on substance, not appearance. The individual who understands this stops performing for approval and begins focusing on real development. Silence, when used correctly, becomes an advantage. It allows you to observe more than you reveal. You listen carefully. You understand people, situations, and patterns without rushing to insert yourself into every conversation. This is not withdrawal, it is awareness. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you act less frequently, your actions become more meaningful. The strategies of war teach that predictability creates vulnerability. When others can easily anticipate your reactions, they can influence your direction. But when you remain calm and measured, you create space between stimulus and response. That space allows you to choose wisely. You become steady rather than reactive, intentional rather than impulsive. Strength without noise also means removing the need for constant validation. Many people exhaust themselves trying to appear successful instead of becoming capable. They chase attention instead of mastery. But attention fades quickly. Skill, discipline, and character endure. When your focus shifts from being seen to becoming better, progress accelerates naturally. There is a quiet confidence that develops from this mindset. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop explaining your goals to everyone around you. Energy that was once spent on proving yourself becomes invested in improving yourself. Over time, results begin to speak louder than words ever could. This approach also creates emotional stability. When your identity is not tied to external approval, criticism loses its sting. Praise no longer distracts you, and negativity no longer defines you. You remain centered because your standards come from within. This inner alignment makes you reliable under pressure and calm in uncertain situations. Another form of quiet strength is consistency. Showing up daily, even when progress feels slow, builds resilience. Others may move fast for short periods, but consistency creates endurance. It allows you to keep moving forward while others burn out. The steady individual often arrives further simply because he refused to stop. As this strength grows, your presence changes. People sense calmness. They recognize reliability. Opportunities begin to align with those who demonstrate stability and focus. Not because you demanded attention, but because your actions earned trust over time. In the end, strength without noise is about maturity. It is the understanding that power does not need to be loud to be effective. It is controlled, patient, and grounded. You move with purpose, speak with intention, and allow your growth to unfold without unnecessary display. And in doing so, you become harder to distract, harder to shake, and increasingly capable of shaping your own direction. Most people think in days or weeks. Strategy requires thinking in years. The long game demands patience, consistency, and the willingness to delay immediate rewards for lasting results. When you begin to think this way, your decisions change. You stop chasing shortcuts and start building foundations. Every action compounds. Small improvements repeated daily become significant advantages over time. Skills sharpen, confidence deepens. Opportunities increase, not by chance, but because preparation has quietly accumulated. The person focused on long-term growth is rarely shaken by temporary setbacks because he understands that progress is rarely linear. Playing the long game also means protecting your direction. Distractions will always appear. New trends, comparisons, moments of doubt. But clarity of purpose keeps you steady. You learn to ask whether today's choice strengthens the person you want to become tomorrow. This mindset removes unnecessary pressure. You no longer need instant success to feel progress. Instead, You measure success by consistency and alignment with your values. Over time, this creates something powerful, momentum that continues even when motivation fades. The long game rewards those who remain disciplined long after others lose focus. In the end, all strategy leads back to one question: who are you becoming through this process? The purpose of discipline, patience, and awareness is not domination. It is transformation. You are not competing with the world. You are building a version of yourself that can stand steady within it. The strongest individuals are not those who avoid struggle, but those who use it as refinement. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every delay becomes preparation. Over time, you realize that true power is quiet confidence, knowing you can rely on your mindset, your habits, and your direction, no matter the circumstances. This journey is not about perfection. It is about progress, about choosing growth when comfort calls you back, about becoming someone who acts with clarity, moves with purpose, and improves without needing recognition. When you respect your own discipline, the outside world begins to reflect that respect back to you. If this message helped you think differently, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Machiavellian State, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next step in your growth. And before you leave, write this in the comments as a commitment to yourself. I build myself daily. Keep moving forward.